Hello again, everyone. Sort of a weird short video. I was recently playing Final Fantasy XIV, and I encountered something that was very strange with the gameplay. Something that I wouldn't expect to find in a more modern, well-polished game. And I'd just kind of like to showcase this. For comparison, I will be first showing you a clip from World of Warcraft. So here we are. And this is a short clip from a Fat Boss TV video from some years ago. This is from Warlords of Draenor, a decently old expansion at this point for World of Warcraft. And this is the Fat Boss tutorial for the first boss of Blackrock Foundry, who's called Gruul. You can kind of see him here, but you see enough of him to understand the fight. So what's going to happen here, as we will see in the clip, is that Gruul will start doing this slam attack. The animation will begin, and you can see the ground where he's going to slam is all bad. Very clearly, you shouldn't stand there. And when the animation ends, with Gruul actually slamming the ground at the same time goes back to normal. It stops being the bad ground, where clearly there is some sort of ability targeted there. Gruul slams the ground, and the ground will go back to normal at the exact same time as the slam animation goes off. That makes sense, and everything is in sync. As the targeter appears, Gruul begins his animation, and as Gruul's animation ends and the attack goes off, the targeter will disappear. We are all in agreement that this makes sense, yes? If you are in the bad ground in the targeter, when Gruul's animation finishes, you will get hit by the slam and you will die. That makes sense. Not only do you get the visual of the area underneath your feet suddenly changing, therefore you need to move, you also get this hint from Gruul's animation, the boss himself. And this is all in sync. It is all happening as it logically would, and it all makes sense. And this is good. This benefits the player. As just a player, unless I have my timings down really well, if it was just an area on the ground changing, I would have no way of knowing when the damage was going to be inflicted, or when the ground was going to change back. But because the ground changing, the targeter appearing and disappearing, is synced up with Gruul's animation, I know that once he is rearing up and about to slam down, that is the last possible moment that I can move out, if I wish to live. And I have the ability to do that because the animation and the targeter, I repeat, are all synced together very nicely. The targeter appears because Gruul is going to slam, and the targeter disappears as Gruul does his slam, and you take damage as Gruul does his slam if you are in the targeter. Right, good. That all makes sense, and now we have a reference for how things should work. Now let's go to Final Fantasy XIV, where I can show you what tripped me up a bit. Alright, so here we are in Final Fantasy XIV. You're probably going to hear my mouse and keyboard and computer and stuff. I apologize. But this is just the easiest way to do it, and I'm really fucking lazy, so here I'm going to demonstrate how Final Fantasy does things with this frog thing here. Is he not going to do this? There it is. Alright, so there's the circle ends, then he does the animation. What? How does that make any sense? There we go. Okay. Yep. There it was right there. So as you can see right there, the circle appeared. He stopped moving, right? The circle appeared. And then the circle disappeared. And then he did the entire jumping and slamming down animation. And let me show you how the damage works with that. So, we're in the circle. We move out of it as the animation goes, but we still take damage from the leap. So here we go. We're in the circle. We leave the circle as the animation goes, but we still get damaged. This is a bit of a animation versus ground targeter desync. Right? I was praising the Gruul of all WoW bosses for something that WoW does all the time, which is just syncing up the ground targeters with the actual animations and damage of the monster. Right, so with Gruul, remember, I made you watch the clip 1,000 times while I talked. As Gruul's slam animation started, the ground targeter appeared, and as he finished his animation, it disappeared, and if you were in the circle, you took damage. So I'm out of the circle, but I can walk back in for the animation, and I don't take any damage. This is kind of the weird part about Final Fantasy. Right, he does have a little casting bar, I think, right? He has a little casting bar, right? Yeah, so he has this little casting bar here. But that's it. This little tiny casting bar up there is completely also just desynced from the animation. When the casting bar ends, he then jumps and then does the slam, inflicting damage a few seconds even later than that. It's just so off sync with everything. Wow, he's really doing the slam a lot here. So I'm not in it, I come back in, and the slam doesn't damage me. So the little casting bar is the only way of me knowing whether or not I have time to move out of the circle or not. And of course, when just fighting frogs, it's not that complicated. It's not that big of a deal. Right, of course I can just move out of it. It doesn't matter. I can move back into it. It doesn't matter. It's just a frog. But this is everything with the game. It's not just these frogs. If it was just these frogs, I wouldn't have, you know, anything to complain about. So these frogs have weird animation things. But this is everything in the game, in my experience. Again, I'm only level 50. I don't have any of the expansions or anything. But this is the issue that I'm having with this game. Well, one of the big issues that I'm having with this game. I take damage when his animation ends. When does this frog's animation end? Well, the animation starts after the casting bar ends. And that is also when the ground targeter disappears. I think? Right? That's right. It's so confusing. There's no reason for it to be this confusing. I shouldn't have to look at 4 different things to know how much longer I have to stand where I need to be standing. And obviously, just pay attention to the casting bar and the ground targeter, it doesn't matter. But it's so divorced from what actually makes sense with a game, where if I'm standing next to the frog, when he does the slam, I should take damage. And if I'm away from the frog, when he does his slam, I shouldn't take damage, but that's not how it works at all. And it's very strange to me. That's the way it works. There's no reason for it to work that way, right? There's no reason that I don't take damage when in the actual animation, I only take damage when the ground targeter disappears after the casting bar is finished. There's no reason it should work that way. I don't know why it works that way. I can't come up with a reason why the animation comes after the actual damage mark. If I'm in the circle, right, as I am right now, when the cast bar ends and the animation starts, I'm marked for damage. So no matter where I move, I will still take that damage, no matter what I do. Theoretically, I will still take that damage. And I can't think of a reason why it would work that way. Again, it's just really weird. But yes, I understand how it works now that I've played 50 levels of this game. But starting out, it was very confusing and hard to get used to after playing WoW for so long. And it just doesn't make a lot of sense, and I can't come up with a reason why it works this way, besides that's just how it works. I don't know why the animation doesn't begin until the damage mark already goes out. That's just very, very strange to me. So in my opinion, I would say that WoW does it right, where the animation syncs up with the targeter and the damage. And this game, Final Fantasy XIV, does things very weirdly and kind of backwards in a way. Or out of sync, I guess is a better way of putting it. Everything's just kind of out of sync. I don't know what other people's opinions are about this sort of desync. I guess people who play Final Fantasy are more used to it. But yeah, that's all I've got. I've made my case. And I rest my case. Also, if you can point out the 2 things my character's name references, you get my eternal gratitude, because you have good taste. Alright, I guess that's it for now. I'll see you guys in the next one.